they added to a stronger troupe, and the mistakes of the rushed greeting sessions were not repeated.
The first album we did in, like I said, a week, basically all one-take tracks. The second album now took more time. It did. Like Rosalita, we didn't know what we were doing with Rosalita until we got in the studio and played with it and worked with it here and there, and then came up with these, and then did it. You know, like Sandy. We didn't know we were going to do Sandy. We were fooling around in the studio with this lick, and unbeknownst to us, they were recording it. So when we went back after we were done rehearsing, they said, listen to this, and they played it back. And we said, oh, wow. And then we talked for a minute, got this and that and that and this, and then we went in and recorded Sandy. You know, because it sounded so great. So songs, it took a little while. Each song was a little more involved.
Springsteen decided that an even richer sound was required. In a repeat of his upstage days, he recruited old friends to participate. Richard Blackwell, Bruce's old freehold cohort, and now an accomplished percussionist, was only too happy to help out.
Bruce is very particular about what he wants to do. You can't take that much time in the studio. As a musician, you have to kind of like do it, and then if it's appreciated, he ain't gonna say nothing. If it's not, he's gonna say, no, I want something different. So you as a musician have to come up with the right. So it's kind of tough, you know. I mean, I vaguely remember doing the Wild Innocent album, you know, like I told you, back in them days, man, that was Flip City, man, forget it. But I think Bruce just basically wanted to hear the sound of the drum. You know, he wanted to hear that in his music.
Bruce also employed the talents of Albie Talone. Although he had helped the band out as a roadie since the Steel Mill days, Albie was a respected folk musician and had not played with Springsteen since the Dr. Zoom concerts. Quite unexpectedly, he was asked to participate.
I became involved in the Wild Innocent E Street Shuffle album because I was there as a roadie, and Bruce knew that I had played saxophone with him before, and he had an idea for a song. He and David had written a song called the E Street Shuffle in David's living room on E Street in Belmar, New Jersey. That's where the name comes from. Bruce got a hold of me and said, come on over to rehearsal. I rented a baritone sax for you to play. I said, wow, you're kidding. That's what I played in high school in the marching band. He goes, yeah, I know you can play these parts. We need Clarence to play the regular tenor part. We need this low baritone sax. And at the time, there was he said somebody had invented a new baritone sax with an extra low note, and that's the one that we hit.
Like Albie was one of the original musicians that played at the Upstage. We all met him there, and then Southside and Miami Steve and Albie lived at Albie's father's house for a long time, and we always go over there and play Monopoly. And then when we actually started doing the band stuff, we needed roadies, so Albie became one of our roadies, and he was good at it. And then when we started recording stuff, I played a clarinet on a couple of things. Albie, he wasn't a great sax player, but he was there. So we just put him on the album. Why not? Why not? And he did his thing.
In November, The Wild, The Innocent and the E Street Shuffle was released. Critical reaction was better, and this time there was no discussion of Springsteen as a solo artist in the mould of Bob Dylan. This was rock and roll, albeit Asbury Park style.
Well, it's a great album. And, there's stuff there that's priceless. Like the yelling in the back of the E Street Shuffle. We have a party going on. We were really drinking and hooping and hollering. We weren't just standing there acting like we were doing. We had tequila. So it was fun. It's fun doing it.
Well, I think that Springsteen was very anxious after that first record came out to establish his rock and roll bona fides. And I think also because he was not entirely happy with the way that Greetings turned out, that he was all the more determined to get something closer to that Asbury Park scene. And so I think that's what you see in that record. And I think in many ways that's a more successful record. I mean, there's more sort of musical excitement. It's probably Springsteen's least disciplined record. I mean, you get these symphonic suites that sort of go on and on. But in terms of raw vitality, I think it's sort of hard to match. I mean, that opening track, Rosalita, many of the songs on there, Sandy, of course. These by contrast really do prove to be enduring songs from the Springsteen canon.
Listening to The Wildly Innocent today, E Street Shuffle still sounded absolutely wonderful. I don't know that the rest of the music, qua music, sounded as wonderful as that track. But certainly, yeah, he was saying, as Dylan had said, what was it, 7 or 8 years before, no, actually, this acoustic guitar writing long songs about my life thing is just a distraction. I'm really a rock and roller.
At the start of 1974, Springsteen and the band played several gigs at Asbury Park haunt the Stone Pony. Despite a good reception, internal problems between Vinnie Lopez and Mike Appel were at boiling point.
I was there, I started the band. And now I'm getting, like, crap from this guy, Mike. I didn't like it. I spoke up. Make a long story short, and I wouldn't be the guy, like I said, I'm not a sheep. I just didn't follow along. I asked the questions. Why did Clarence have to get arrested? Because you were supposed to be paying his alimony payments, and you didn't for 3 months. So the cops come and arrest Clarence. Night before we're supposed to go on tour with Chicago. Oh, we need the money. Oh, no, I'm not giving any money. So I had to go up to New York and battle with Mike Appel to get Clarence out of jail. Okay. Little stuff like that. But it added up. Because there was always little stuff like that. Like I said, the royalty story before. Well, who do you think you are? You're not getting royalties. Oh, yeah, well, I didn't like that either. And then when I pushed his brother down on the ground, that was the last straw for him.
The loss of Lopez was a heavy blow to the band, yet touring continued. In May, Springsteen's disappointing commercial success was given a boost by John Landau, a Rolling Stone critic who pronounced Springsteen the future of rock and roll, after being blown away by his live performances. Record sales and critical interest exponentially increased.
I think that Landau was a very prominent and well-respected critic. He was also already a record producer. Certainly, that extreme statement had a lot of clout with all of us. It forced us to think about it. And the fact of the matter was that the goods were there. So, he was right. Now, if he'd said that about Livingston Taylor, who he also produced, well, Livingston Taylor was terrible. And he never convinced anybody that Livingston Taylor was really worth much. He liked him.
Not only did Landau's emphatic celebration of Springsteen sell more records, it also attracted more people to his live shows, where many were immediately won over by the dynamic performance. As with Steel Mill, Springsteen's live show was a defining factor in his growing success.
You see Bruce live, and you listen to Bruce on an album, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with this, it's a world of difference.
Springsteen's reputation before Born to Run was based on his live show, which by 1974, when I saw it twice in the space of a couple of weeks, it was pretty magical. By then he had his shtick down. He was a great storyteller. He understood something, in fact, quite a bit about how to move on a stage. About 6 months later, my wife reviewed him at the Westbury Music Fair, which is a very middle-class venue out in Long Island, which has a revolving stage. And he got up, was it on the piano? Where was it? He figured out a way to stay in one place on the stage and made a big joke of it. He says, and everybody who he's in front of cheered, and everybody who only saw his back booed. But I mean, the man really had a sense of how to use the stage. It was a wonderful. I'd never seen. I went to a lot of shows at Westbury because I reviewed out there. I never seen anybody else do that. What a smart guy.